Welcome everyone to the Garden Club for Fun with Flowers, Small Wonders, featuring Lauren Powell of the Bread and Board. We get a little bit of feedback. Thank you, Jill, for handling that. I'm Denise Reagan. I'm the Executive Director of the Garden Club of Jacksonville, and I'm here with Jill Zarletta, our Marketing and Membership Manager, who checked you all in. And we're very pleased to have you here. We'd also like to thank the Jessie Ball DuPont Fund for making programs like this possible through a generous grant to the Garden Club. I'd also like to thank our Fun with Flowers co-chairs, Martha Collins Davis and Madiha Zahir, who have been helping us put together programs like this one. We have several programs coming up throughout our fiscal year. Garden Club's fiscal year runs June 1st through May 31st. So the next one is on December 1st, and then we have ones in March, May, and July. They are not up on the website yet, but please check back soon, and we will have them up there. Just having some trouble, but stay tuned. I'd also like to let you know about another flower-related series that we're doing, the Floralia Guild. And if you haven't picked one of these up at the check-in desk, please do. So Floralia is a study group that explores floral designs and techniques through education and demonstrations that encourage discussion and critique. If you're interested, please pick up one of these. And the first one is October 27th, and it's underwater arrangements. So if that kind of thing interests you, there's so many cool things on here, including one of my favorites, totally tubular. So we also have Joan Burchell here, who is in the pink shirt and back, and she'd be happy to talk to any of you if you're interested in the program. So please let her know that you are interested. We also are very excited that we are going to do a flower show this year. It's the first time in a couple of years. And it's called Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, which is named after the plant that many of you might be aware of. This is a drawing by our own Jill Zarletta. So it's a design specialty show, and information about that is up on our website. You can download the schedule. There's a lot of rules and regulations and everything about that. The chair of that program is Lauren Baxter. And so her information is up on the website as well. So if you're interested in that, please check that out. And you can also ask me questions and I will try to answer them, but I probably will end up sending you to Lauren. If you're not a member of the Garden Club, it is my duty as the executive director to remind you that anyone can become a member of the Garden Club. And if you're interested in membership, you can certainly talk to Jill or me and go to our website. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Lauren Powell. Lauren Powell is Nebraska-born, Orange Park raised, and a resident of Murray Hill. Her career in floral design began in 2016 when she started, sorry, I got distracted there, in 2010, when she started working at a local florist and quickly fell in love with the art. In 2017, she and a colleague established their own florist business, sharing the basics of floral design with their step-by-step classes. The intent was to help anyone find confidence in purchasing a little bouquet and displaying it proudly at home. She took over the Bread and Board Provisions floral department in the spring of 2022, where she continues to grow her career and water the community. Her goal at the Flower Bar is to encourage everyone to tap into their creativity. If you have questions with Lauren, we will bring a microphone out to you that we can capture you on the recording and get those. I don't know if Lauren wants them while she's working, if we can pepper them in, and then you can also save them up for the end as well. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lauren.
Hello, thank you for the introduction. Yes, so I'm with Bread and Board Provisions, got to chat with a few of you. Bread and Board used to be really close by to the Garden Club, but we moved downtown. Bigger space, we get to do a lot more provisions. It's like kind of a marketplace. I can maintain a flower bar every day, so you can come by and at least smell the flowers. Hopefully you want to take a few home.
Thank you, Lauren.
It's intimidating with large bases. So one thing I really like is reusing things, reusing glassware, anything that once held the liquid, you can probably put liquid in it again. And it doesn't have to be very big to brighten your home with some flowers. So This is brand new glassware that I'll be designing a few arrangements in, but you all brought some and I do have some spares. So if you feel like your container is too small or something, I've got some old jam jars, pickle jars, bean cans, things like that you can use if you feel like that would be better for your arrangement today. Okay, but we're going to go through a few things. I actually don't have water in these vases because when you travel, a lot of splashing in the car is not great, but I'll probably put some water in it eventually. So we'll go through a few different All right. We're going to go through a few different arrangements today. I've got a few mixes. So if you can the flower bar, you might see everything bundled up in little brown paper. You get them stem by stem. But let's see. With the different mixes, maybe I'll reach out to the crowd for your opinion. What should go in this tall vase? Should we accentuate the stalk and everything, the tall vase? Or the little one? I feel like the big ones. Okie dokie. So I like to work in 3s or 5s, 7s, odd numbers. Today I'll have 5 carnations, the 3 delphinium, 3 stalk, and these roses. They're crumbling on me. All right. So with the carnations, they'll often come, I'm not sure what's the best angle for you. They'll come a little bit tight if they're fresh from the wholesale florist. And if you want to show off all the blooms, you can just kind of pinch them open. So each time I get the flowers out, I kind of give them a little bit of a review before I start working with them. Sometimes it's to open up the petals, or sometimes it's to pluck leaves. The leaves that are submerged in water, they make the water murky and smelly. So I like to pluck those. But sometimes you need to keep the leaves in. If you've got a large vase and you need to keep things tight, they'll kind of fill in that space for you and give it a better grip. Because if you just put a flower in, it'll lean. But if you put a lot of things in the center, that'll hold its shape. So it's all about your container. Okay, so my carnations are fluffed. That looks good. All right, the delphinium is a nice tall flower. Looks like this one snapped on me. But that's why we've given them a little review. They're still pretty, even when they're little. I'm not sure if anyone here feels that they are not able to work with both their hands, but I like to work designing like right in my hand, as if this were the mouth of the vase. You could put all the greenery in and lace the vase first. This way. And then it'll kind of keep a good hold on everything. I'll do it this way just in case you don't feel comfortable holding things, because as the arrangement gets bigger, it's hard to keep a good grip on it. But where we'll begin is doing our 5 points with the carnations. Kind of gauge where you are with the height. 1 in the center, and then do a square around them. I kind of call this a roundy-moundy style. It's not particularly creative, but it is even and round, a good 360 view. And I think a couple of you brought your own shears or clippers, but I like to work with a knife. I've cut myself a fair share, but it's a little bit sharper. Thank you. All right, so I think we're almost at that 5-point shape. Are you able to see we've got a center and then the 4 points of a square basically around it. So that's kind of our base, and then we're going to fill things in from there. So for the stalk, I like some of these top leaves, but I'll probably take some of the bottom ones off. These leaves go yellow very quickly. So sometimes after you've had your arrangement out for a few days, you can just take a stem out and pluck a few things off and put it right back. No one will know the difference. All right, so now we're going to go into more of like a triangle. So here. Here. And we'll get one at the top. Now, the other thing I have 3s of is Veronica. This one didn't make it all the way to the bucket. It missed the water. That's okay. It'll perk back up. These are another one with a lot of greenery on it. And I'll keep it because I might need a little bit of a tighter grip in there. The leather leaf, I know some people are haters. I'm not sure if any of you know, but leather leaf is kind of the more common greenery out of florist. But that's because it's cheap and it fills a beautiful space. And I find it's not as stinky as some other things. Like pittosporum is beautiful, but it makes the water really smelly. It's all about smelling nice. We've got one. We're going to kind of go in the opposite triangle. So we've got a triangle here, and we're going to do a blue triangle. Okay, now for the Veronica, I'm going to do one right in the center here. And these stems are not as long as the others, so I'm going to trim a lot less. But a good sharp angle will help it drink. Now I'm kind of considering more, instead of this aerial view, I'm considering more what will I look like if I set it on the dining table or the entry table. What am I actually going to be seeing? And a lot of times you just see one side of it. It might be up against the wall. So if you've got only a few flowers that look really nice, consider what will you actually be looking at and have them face the way you want to see. This poor Veronica, I'm sure it'll perk up. Now these roses, I did intend on putting them in, but I think they're just a little bit too sad. No, it's okay. But here we are, one of our arrangements, something simple, a narrow little arrangement, but beautiful nonetheless. I'll set this on. All right. And now we'll work on our smaller container. This will probably be more similar to what we'll be working with today. I saw a lot of what you brought in, and there may be this height or this smell. When I'm ordering containers, I do try to keep variable sizes. Like I think this is about 2.5 or 2 3/4 width. Sometimes you'll find a beautiful, like tall cylinder, and then it's got like a 4-inch width, and it's really hard to fill it with flowers because you'll just get, again, that kind of slant where you just pop in the flower, it leans to one side because there's nothing supporting it. So small containers are good for keeping the shape. Let's see. So these are cremone. They're like a kind of mum. I do like to take a lot of these leaves off because they brown and wilts easily. This is chamomile. It's much better dried in tea than it is now. Yeah, they're very pretty. And again, these are a lot of the leaves. You don't have to pluck them this way, but I do like to kind of review each stem and clean them up. Because if I'm gonna go through all the effort of spending the money and arranging it, I want it to last long without it, getting gross. And I don't know if you could dry this, if there's a difference between like any kind of culinary grade chamomile or not. If you've got any broken stems. Yeah. I don't know if this, because it comes in imported, they're grown in greenhouses. A lot of them are like Ecuador and Colombia and stuff. I just don't know the quality of the growing conditions if you'd want to consume it. But here's an example of a stem that's kind of already snapped, but it's still pretty good. It's got a lot of height on it, so it's worth just snipping off and setting it aside. Because if your container's short enough, you can still use that. Yeah. Okay. Move it up. Okay. Aha. Okay. They told me to keep it away from my chin so you don't get the. All right. So it got a lot of chamomile here, 5 stems. I do not think we will need all of that. Great. And then these are mini carnations. I am a carnation lover. They are not fancy, but they are cute. And these are mini carnations, so you get more blooms per stem. They're like spray roses or something. It's nice. You get the pop of color, you get the filler, and then you get to spend maybe your money on something nicer, like the chamomile. And this is Alstroemeria, sometimes called Peruvian lilies. And I've never seen these grown wild, but my parents just went to Ireland and they were just taking pictures of everything. And they were in garden beds, like landscaping. And I was like, wow, I would totally make an arrangement with that. So this time I'll use a little bit of leatherleaf, but I might just use one. I set yours out on the tables, 5 stems. You might not need it all, but just in case. So we're just going to do a little cleanup here. With these, you can probably just pinch off any brown or broken leaves. And I think leatherleaf is a little bit easier to get local. I've had some brought in that it's grown in Florida. Let's see. So with this one stem, I'm going to make it 2 stems. I can kind of look on the back and see where's the height of my vase. Probably about here. So then I can use 1 as 2. So 1 will have a nice top point and 1 will be really wide. As if you weren't having trouble hearing me. No, get the lawnmower. Okay, just a little bit of greenery, but this is such a small container and we've got so many flowers. I'm not worried about it holding its shape. So, free Alstroemeria. For this one, I think I'll design it in the vase again. Okay. We're going back to our triangle. So 3 stems make our 3 points. But even that fills it up so much. If you find a stem of flowers with multiple blooms on it, very helpful. What was that? Oh yeah, it does. It really does, yeah. Let's see. Let's get our cremone in there. And we'll do it on the opposite. So it's a little bit harder to see where the stems landed, but we've got 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to do 4, 5, 6 in the opposite triangle. Pro tip, if you ever need to get flowers, bring your container with you. Or if you have flowers gifted to you, tell them, hey, I don't need a vase. I've got a vase. And then you get, $15 more in flowers instead of on glassware. You guys are professionals. You knew that. Okay, so now we see our 2 triangles, kind of like a star here. Now I think we should add in some color with hot pink and yellow. Now these are a little bit not even in quantity, but doesn't have to be perfect. So once I kind of cut it to a height I liked, they started splitting, and that's okay. Again, we can kind of set those aside and use them as fillers. I think I'll even take this one off too. This one's going right in the center. Now we've got a little bit of a different height dimension. Now how tall are these? Okay. I might even take that down again. All right. All right, I'm going to come in with my short stems. And we've got kind of this low mound that we created with the alstroemeria and cremone, and then the carnations, excuse me, are really high. And I think I want to get an in-between height with the chamomile. And I love these. They're just so wiggly. If you get any kind of movement or breeze in the room, they just make it so much lighter. And again, you'll see there's great long stems branching from one. So if you've got a really tall container, leave it together. That's great. But this is such a small container. I'm definitely going to split it up. That can stay together. Too tall. That's okay. We trim it again. They are split, but I like the way it looks bundled. So I'm going to hold them together. Fills the height a little bit. Pardon me. Okay. Well, that looks good. Let's do another big bunch. You can kind of call out the answers, but when you buy flowers, is it usually at a florist or like a grocery store? Your yard. Oh, I'm jealous. I aspired for that. Yeah, the grocery store is convenient. You're already there to buy food. Might as well get some flowers. But they don't always have very unique options. So if you can at least make them look really pretty. This one's kind of an outlier. I'm going to give it a trim. I think just getting really comfortable with knowing maybe the first time you put something in, it's not going to be your favorite. Just take it out and try it again. That really helps. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of fill in the last spots with these short stems we've already got. Off the snapped one. I was talking with Denise earlier about how much nicer it feels when you use flowers that you cut from your own garden. But we have such a difficult growing season here for flowers. Now, if we were in like Minnesota or something, I would have the most beautiful dahlias. You do? You put bags on them. Oh, wow. I've seen people put little mesh bags to protect them from bugs. Okay, well, I think this one is done. I think we're good to go. Great. I used 3 of the Alstroemeria and Cremone. I only ended up using 2 mini carnations and 2 chamomile. But the thing is, if you happen to, have a few leftovers, you don't feel like you have to force it all into one container. One thing I always do is save like old soda bottles or kombucha. Those are usually really pretty bottles. I used some over at our provisions booth, different sodas and liquors that we actually sell. The La Bretona is a liquor that we use in margaritas at Estrella Cocina, which is another restaurant in our group. And it's very cool teal. You don't usually get a good color glass like that. One thing I've been noticing is sometimes you'll look, that's glass, that's a color, but it's really a coated clear glass. And sometimes it chips away and it's not as high quality. But if you find a true colored glass, that's really nice. So those were the 2 that are available for the raffle. And the third arrangement I'll be doing is the one that you guys will all be making. Again, if you feel at the end of it that your container is not suitable, check out what we have over here on this table, because those are all going to work. I'm going to tidy up a bit. They are pretty, but they are crumbly, and I don't want to ruin your cars. I've had people use rose petals on bedding. They stained my shoes. I'm very sorry. Okay, well, today's the first day of fall. I'm sure you're aware. So I tried to go a little bit fall themed. We've got sunflowers and oranges. Get everything here. I do have carnations. They're not particularly fall, but they're not a normal light pink. I think they call them maybe like an antique pink. They're a little bit more caramely than just light pink. And then some solidago. I'm from Nebraska, and solidago is our state flower. I like to get those in. I went on a bike ride on this old railroad trail with my aunt in northern Nebraska, and you just see it on all the fields next to you. That was really pretty. Yeah, I've spotted some. I went to Fort Caroline and I found some on the trails out there, and I thought that's so strange that it's so sandy here, such a different environment, but it still finds a way. Solidago, goldenrod, yeah. Or I think of like in Snow White, they have goldenrod and the 7 dwarfs sniff it and sneeze. He has a big sneeze. All right, well, I'm going to use one of these vases for this one. Tin can. This fed me a few weeks ago. I had some beans. The thing about the tin, though, is it could rust, right? You don't want to keep the flowers in there all the time, but it is cute. That kind of country country chic look. And you could always decorate them. I remember doing little projects like taking fabric scraps and gluing them around and making it like a pen can. So it gets the right color you want. Okay, so I'll do a little breakdown on what we've got here. The threes we're going to be working with are roses and carnations, and then we're going to fill in the space with the sunflowers and buttons, and then the last little bits will be the solidago. I'm only doing one stem for this recipe because it's usually really branchy and you'll get quite a bit. If you find that you're left with one, that's pretty much just one, we'll get you an extra, just holler. Let's start with the leather leaf once again. I'm doing 3 pieces. Now this has an interesting tip. I don't really want to include that. One thing I did grow well is zinnias. I grew beautiful zinnias. I put them around a bird bath, and it was at the time I was selling my home, so I was very proud. I was like, look at my beautiful bird bath with a flower garden. And I drove past the house and they removed it all. I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, same with my vegetable garden beds, but they're a lot bigger, so maybe I understood those. But I was like, the bird bath, why? All right. I'm feeling like maybe this is a pretty tall height for the container I'm working with. So pick it up and let's try again. Really only this one is the tall one. So I'll bring it down. Put these back. And where I'm pinching them at the bottom is where I'd imagine the rim of the vase being. Feel better about that. I have these around, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize them. They're not going to be seen so much, but they're going to give us that grip we want to hold the other stems in place. Okay, so we'll start with a triangle of carnations. I think I might have fluffed these a little yesterday. These were broken stems. I took them away from your buckets, but I thought I would use them. Okay, got a solid triangle there. A fun thing I do with roses that are really tight buds like this, if you're lucky, they'll work for you, but you kind of hold them upside down and give them a spin. And it opened a little bit, but not very much. And that's if you really want something to look, bloomed right away. Of course, over time, it'll soften up and open on its own. This kind of helps it out a little bit. Maybe that helped a little. All right, we're almost done with our second triangle. Okay. So the buttons, and solidago, and sunflowers. I think I'll do this one as a one-sided arrangement because we don't have threes of everything. We're just going to kind of amplify one side for sure. Maybe more like 2/3 of it will be front facing. And then it'll be really good to put on a wall or counter where no one's going to walk behind it. They're not missing anything. And so the other part of that is that you want to do like a lower height and then taller in the front. So you get a nice view of everything. I'm going to do the sunflowers first because they need a lot of space. I'm going to go tall with the other one. Oops. Here's something tricky, but I think we can do it. Right here, we'll have enough height for the base. And then these 3 blooms would be on their own stem. So I'm going to try to cut that one off. Just a little bit harder to do with the knife. But now we do have 3 stems of buttons, which is nice. And we can put these in the back. Right there. Okay. So the last part of this one is going to be the solidago. Now this sunflower is giving me trouble. All right. With a lot of these, you can just peel them off, kind of hold it right at the base and pinch it at the bottom, peel it away. And we can clean it up with the clippers. Oh. I think we split it. A little bit. I had this one in, but I think I want it to be more at the front. At the front, it's shorter. Trim that again. Okay, well, this is our fall arrangement. We're done. Okay. So are there any questions before we kind of transition into the workshop part of it? Jill has a microphone. She can approach you.
Questions? Yeah, there we go.
Do you not necessarily cut them all the same length? You want them in random lengths? Even if you're not doing one like up against the wall, should it be random instead of like an even shape?
Yeah, if you want it to be a pretty even mound, then you would want to have even cuts. I think there's something about a little bit variable that makes it feel more wild, like you gathered it.
But
It's-
you don't necessarily have like a formula of how to, which ones to put high, low, or whatever?
No, typically I don't. I mean, to answer your question, normally I do not cut them all the same length. I don't. Yeah, I kind of take each one and put it in the angle that I'm aiming for next to the container and do an individual cut. Yeah.
Okay, so one more time. Just wanted to thank the Jezebel DuPont Fund for their generous grants that allows us to do programs like this, and to thank all of you for coming today. Thanks to Lauren once again. Let's give her a big round of applause. All right, and we're going to roll out a cart for you to get your stems and get going. Thank you so much.